Corporations like Google, Facebook, Amazon, all of these large companies are making tens of hundreds of billions of dollars of monetizing people's data. Data is your most valuable asset. These are the sentiments Cambridge Analytica whistleblower Brittany Kaiser would echo. And with this, set the stage for an enthralling story. Most social media conglomerates had humble beginnings as they were started by tech-savvy individuals in their parents' garage. However, not all were built on the premise of staying connected. With the slow descent of MySpace, a further albeit nascent social media platform, Facebook, emerged with a bold mission statement. People use Facebook to stay connected with friends, family, and discover what is going on in the world and to share and express what matters to them. However, Facebook, which was indomitable at the time, was built on the premise of our primal urges in staying together, which stems from our evolutionary past. This would soon be marred with scandals, a slew of lawsuits, an alleged Machiavellian election interference in the US, and a $725 million settlement. This is an anecdote of how Facebook became a data broker. Facebook's platform at its inception would pride itself on giving control to its users on the information they could share. This was done through various privacy controls, which included profile privacy settings, in which users would limit who could see the content displayed on a user's profile or shared by a user. 2. Profile privacy controls. Users had control over who could see information about themselves, the pages they liked or followed. And thirdly, publisher privacy control. This is that users had control over who could see their content they were posting. Whilst Facebook had garnered scores of users, Facebook was strapped for cash as it wasn't generating much profit, and whilst it had achieved its mission statement of social connections, it would be sacrificed at the altar of corporate greed. Facebook would veer off into a new business model centered on user engagement. Facebook would begin to fervently track user engagement through social pathways such as posts, likes, comments, upon which information would be collected into 3 variables: daily active users, 2 monthly active users, and thirdly mobile active users. Facebook would endeavor to amass 901 million monthly active users, 526 million daily active users, and 500 million mobile active users. This user engagement data wasn't just vanity metrics, as analysts had foreshadowed future revenues based on user engagement. Thus, user engagement was an integral financial metric for Facebook. Facebook would tread down the path of apps in which they would lure app developers. Facebook would court app developers in a quid pro quo in which the developers would be incentivized to build apps to stimulate user engagement, and in holding up its end of its bargain, Facebook would indulge in data reciprocity, which in a nutshell is Facebook's monetization of data, as Facebook would share user data with app developers in exchange for them building apps. Facebook would launch games on the platform such as Zynga's Farmville, which would catapult Facebook into a cash cow, as Facebook would stand to gain from the game's advertising and purchasing revenues, whilst the game would be accorded access to Facebook's users' friends list. In 2009 would be the first year since Facebook's launch in 2007 that Facebook would make a profit. Zynga would account for 12% of Facebook's revenue. The business model had been tested out, and Facebook now had what would be its minimum viable product, and the first iteration cycle was successful, as Zynga in 2010 had accumulated 83 million monthly active users. Facebook would embark on an iteration cycle, and by 2012 it had 9 million apps. Facebook users' engagement had skyrocketed as Facebook boasted of 125 billion friend connections and 901 million monthly active users who uploaded 300 million photos and generated 3.2 billion likes. It wouldn't take long for the FTC to file a complaint against Facebook, as Facebook had unilaterally made user information public without the user's consent. Facebook would end up in a settlement agreement with the FTC and vowed to restrict user data access to third parties. However, it would employ chicanery and would still share user data with some whitelisted apps. Whilst Facebook seemed to be in an upward trajectory, its shareholders were insatiated, and this will lead to the biggest internet-based technology IPO in history. in 2012. However, just shortly after the IPO, Facebook shares would plummet. Facebook would embark in an all-out offensive on sharing user data with third parties such as app developers and business partners. Facebook would launch custom audiences features in which advertisers inched closer and would now directly target specific Facebook users with advertisement. Facebook would up the ante with user engagement through its newsfeed that was now rife with advertisements. Facebook would announce a video marketing analytics in which it gained insight in real-time audience retention and would share such information with its cronies. Facebook would also collect user information through software development kits that would be used to target them with Facebook ads. Some of the information that Facebook obtained was from apps that shared user information, such as health and fitness apps, including, shockingly, Flow Health Inc., that's a menstrual cycle and ovulation tracker, would share with Facebook when a user was on a cycle or ovulating. Facebook would further indulge in de-anonymization. This is whereby data brokers would share user content with Facebook that would be offered to its business partners and advertisers, only this time they could profile users. Psychographic marketing. Psychographic marketing is an intrusive, invasive, and targeting marketing that exploits fears, feelings, values, motives in order to influence a person to purchase a product, polarize them on social issues such as guns, LGBTQ, abortion, and more appalling, influence voting in elections. The essence of psychographic marketing would be captured on 5 elementary traits, going by the acronym OCEAN, which is openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. These traits would be the backdrop against which My Digital Life app was created in 2013 by Alexandra Kogan. Mr. Kogan had affiliations with Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg through his company that he was a director, Global Science Research, that had ties with Facebook. My Digital Life would equally have ties with Facebook, and it would be launched on its platform, and whose main purpose was to understand personalities of Facebook users and supply the data for use by only academic psychologists. In 2004, Mr. Kogan would be approached by Strategic Communications Laboratories, the parent company of Cambridge Analytica, to provide consulting services. At this time, My Digital Life app had gained access to Facebook's 300,000 users profile who had downloaded the app. My Digital Life app and Global Science Research had the same director, and thus the personality traits would be supplied to Strategic Communications Laboratories, which would match personality traits to voter registration file for several million people. Global Science Research was overt in its business nature, as in its end user terms and condition, it stated that it intended to sell and license user data from Facebook. Thus, Facebook had actual and constructive notice of Global Science Research business model. Between 2014 and 2015, Global Science Research began affiliations with Cambridge Analytica and not only shared personal data of the 300,000 people who had downloaded the My Digital app, but they also had access of the users' friends on Facebook. It's estimated that they had access to 87 million Facebook users. This wouldn't be the only damning revelation, as a whistleblower, Christopher Wiley, would unearth the data mining process at Cambridge Analytica. He stated, "We exploited Facebook to harvest millions of people's profiles. We thereafter used those Facebook user profiles, the likes, messages, to build a personality profile in which you could target them with messages." The 2016 US presidential election. Prior to the US presidential election of 2016, Cambridge Analytica had developed detailed voting psychographic profiles of US voters through their personality traits, which they would use such information to predict their political affiliations. They equally crafted advertisements that were used to manipulate the votes of Facebook users through micro-targeting by encouraging some voters to vote and in some instances suppress other users from voting, thereby suppressing democracy. A perfect example would be allegedly where Cambridge Analytica sought to target African American voters with the goal of suppressing their votes. This was done by dredging up the past of Hillary Clinton, a worthy contender of the US election in 2016, in which she described black youths
that are called super predators.
However, the most intriguing allegation from the US presidential election would be the Russian interference that threatened the integrity of US election. It's alleged that Russian actors launched advertisements on Facebook's platform that would polarize and sow seeds of discord among its users from a myriad of societal issues such as the LGBTQ, race issues, immigration, and gun rights. It's alleged that this inflammatory post reached 126 million users on Facebook, micro-targeting specifically people more inclined to vote than former President Donald J. Trump. These grave allegations would be investigated by the FBI in May 2018. Subsequently, in 2019, in light of this information warfare, it sparked the biggest class action suit against Facebook for the following violations: for violating privacy laws, including common law and California Invasion of Privacy Act, which prohibits the use of a person's name, likeness, photograph, or video for commercial gain without obtaining consent; violation of publicity statute, which prohibits the use of a person's indicia of identity for commercial gain without seeking consent first; violation of Consumer Protection Act, consumer fraud; violation of deceptive trade business practices; violation of the RICO Act against Facebook, Strategic Communications Laboratories, Cambridge Analytica, and Global Research Science for conspiring in a scheme to obtain and sell user data. Facebook would equally be sued for making fraudulent and negligent misrepresentations about the safety of user data. Facebook would equally be sued for violation of the California Computer Data Access and Fraud Act. It would equally be sued for unlawful interception of communications. Facebook would be sued for failing to protect user data from electronic surveillance and unlawful interception of communication. And lastly, Facebook would be sued for unjust enrichment and for violation of the California Unfair Competition Law. In 2022, Facebook would engage the plaintiffs in the class action suit in a settlement agreement in which they would pay $725 million. However, time is running out, as a deadline for the plaintiffs to have filed and submitted their claims is 25th August 2023. For further information regarding the $725 million settlement, seek details from the above website of the lawsuit.